Right now on Morning News Now, Mother Nature setting her sights on the East Coast, inundating major cities like right here in New York with dangerous flash flooding, hail, even reported tornadoes in some areas. Our Angie Lastman is back in the saddle with us today with when the skies could finally clear up. And the push for peace in the Middle East, drafting a new player from the Trump administration this morning. Secretary of State Marco Rubio heading overseas, looking to pitch the president's latest Iran agreement to allies in the Gulf. It comes after Vice President J.D. Vance touted progress in those Switzerland talks this week. But how are the Iranians feeling about it all? And could the commander-in-chief's repeated threats of violence against them hinder any headway? We'll have the latest coming up in just a moment. Also this morning, new details surrounding the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, who's now been missing for nearly 5 months. What we're learning about the actual contents of one of the letters sent to media outlets following her abduction. Plus, heavy metal, could listening to angry music help you feel less angry? Why headbanging along to your favorite metal hits might actually do some good for your brain. And later in the hour, we're remembering the music industry titan who helped shape our personal soundtracks for decades, record mogul Clive Davis, gone at 94. And good Tuesday morning. Thanks for being here. I'm Stephen Romo in for Joe and Savannah today. And we do begin this hour with that dangerous line of severe storms sweeping across the country. Overnight, rounds of heavy rain led to flash flooding in the Northeast and parts of the South. In Kentucky, emergency crews waded through water to help people evacuate their homes. While in Northern Virginia, strong winds brought down power lines and trees, some damaging houses in the process, and more damage to homes and cars came from large hail. Meanwhile, in Indiana, calls flooded the Evansville Police and Fire, where reported tornadoes smashed storefronts and tore through neighborhoods. And in Oklahoma, 80-mile-per-hour winds severely damaged this lakefront marina and the boats that were docked there. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda has been following the storm overnight. She's in Newark, New Jersey, tracking it all. Emily.
Hey there. Well, you can see the sheer force of those winds and heavy rains with this massive downed tree blocking the roadway here, even clipping the car as part of this major mess. Newark among the areas to see record rainfall, making for a messy cleanup this morning. At one point during the severe line of storms, there were hundreds of thousands of people without power as these thunderstorms rolled through, impacting tens of millions of people. In Virginia, communities there facing snapped trees and blocked roadways because of a suspected tornado. In Kentucky, a very serious situation on Monday from flooding. Emergency crews seen wading and trudging through waist-deep water to rescue people from an apartment complex there. Also, a major mess at the airports. Airports now recovering today from nearly 10,000 flight disruptions yesterday. We saw ground delays from D.C. all the way up to Boston, so a bit of a travel mess. The thunderstorms also taking a toll on sporting events. Several Major League Baseball games have been postponed and delayed, and the storms even pressing pause on the World Cup for the first time this tournament. The game, France and Iraq, had to be delayed for several hours, forcing the fans, some 68,000 of them, to clear the stands for several hours before that game was able to conclude. Back to you.
A lot of complications. Emily, thank you. A stormy start to the summer. Let's get a broader view of our Morning News Now weather. Meteorologist Angie Lastman joins us now with a new accessory there, Angie. I know you got a bit of an injury.
I had a bit of an injury. I tore my Achilles, Stephen. I was out for a while, but I'm back with a new accessory, my little scooter, so I can be here doing the weather. Speaking of, we, of course, as you heard Emily say, had a lot going on yesterday, and we've still got some of this activity kind of rumbling through parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast this morning. Notice not quite as many flood alerts up, but still places like Norfolk and just west of Roanoke under those flood watches at this time. Here's what we can expect as the day goes on. Still more of this moisture, not quite as heavy as it was over the past 24 hours or so, but we're still going to see some kind of steady rain stretching up and down the East Coast from Boston down to Raleigh. Notice that slight risk of some of those stronger storms developing across that region here as we get through the day today. We'll still add on some additional rainfall. I think the highest amounts anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, maybe some localized amounts a little little higher than that. So we'll watch for some minor flooding concerns across this region. Otherwise, big picture, we look to the center of the country to see things kind of ramping back up. You'll notice that this severe risk will focus across parts of the southern Rockies and the plains today. And then as we get into tomorrow, some of those showers and thunderstorms work through the Tennessee Valley and will yet again have a severe threat across parts of the west central plains. Here's the look at the area that we're specifically focused on today. 13 million people. Cheyenne, you can see Denver included, Garden City, Oklahoma City also included in the severe threat through tonight. It does include those strong wind gusts up to 75 miles per hour, along with the damaging hail. And we could even see a couple of these isolated tornadoes ramping up into the evening hours tonight. By the time tomorrow rolls around, not quite as extensive of a severe threat, but we'll still have the potential to see upwards of, 5 million people across some of those same regions in the plains and the Rockies having the potential to see the severe threat. Otherwise, we've got those heat alerts out across parts of the Southwest, 30 million people included in those. You can see El Paso, Phoenix, Los Angeles, even stretching up through the Pacific Northwest, Medford, Portland, all included in those this morning. And you can see why. The summer highs are focused across parts of the West. Meanwhile, the chillier conditions have settled in across parts of the Midwest and the plains. And when I say chilly, I mean below normal. So we're not dealing with those 80s across many of these locations like Minneapolis, but we're close to it. 77 degrees. We've got 75 in Chicago. Not a bad forecast for Lexington. Upper 70s, still into the 80s for Wichita and farther south. And even as we get into tomorrow, these refreshing highs are going to kind of stick around across the Great Lakes and parts of the central and northern plains. 82 in Omaha. Green Bay checks in at 72 degrees. And then if you're looking for the warmer weather yet again, you can see that arrives just in time for the weekend, Stephen.
Angie, that injury did not even almost slow you down. Look at you. Right,
I can
back
talk
on the
perfectly
horse.
fine.
Got it down. All right, Angie, we'll check back in. Thank you.
Got it.
All right, let's get to the latest now on the effort to end the war with Iran. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is now heading to the Middle East to pitch the latest Iran agreement to Gulf Arab allies. Rubio now taking the administration lead on these talks as Vice President J.D. Vance wrapped up talks with Iran in Switzerland yesterday. Vice President talked up his negotiation efforts and touted key parts of that current agreement, including steps to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. It's all part of trying to reach a full deal to end the war within the 60 days of the preliminary agreement, which would be in mid-August. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us from Tel Aviv with more on this. So, Matt, the initial deal includes the U.S. temporarily lifting sanctions on Iranian oil, obviously a financial incentive for Iran to keep the ceasefire. So tell us about that and some of the other key points in this initial agreement.
That's right, Stephen. I mean, we're talking about some major financial incentives. It's no wonder Iran signed on to this. That's just one of them. The immediate ability for Iran to market its oil for 60 days on international markets. So that actually puts them in a better position than before the fighting, before this attack by the U.S. and Israel. They also have access to, according to the Memorandum of Understanding, $300 billion in reconstruction funds. And now we're hearing that the U.S. Treasury is in the process of unfreezing what looks like maybe more than $100 billion in Iranian funds that have been frozen abroad as part of their restrictions and sanctions. So it looks as though the Iranians all are set to cash in. But meanwhile, they have been holding a very, very strict line on these negotiations. As you mentioned, J.D. Vance leaving Europe now and Marco Rubio switching in on the way to the Middle East, trying to get this over the line. The fact is that the statements we've been hearing from the Iranians are not anywhere near what we're hearing from J.D. Vance. They said that they had not allowed in or not agreed to allow in United Nations weapons inspectors into Iran, which J.D. Vance said they had. They also denied President Trump's assertion that all of this money that Iran stood to get was going to be paid, was going to go back to the United States for Iran to buy food. The Iranians have rejected that statement as well. They also said that they aren't going to be talking about their ballistic missile capability. That's going to be very, very upsetting to Israelis who see themselves as a partner in this fight. So already, day two, we're looking at negotiations that are reaching something of an impasse.
Yeah, a lot of questions on those discrepancies between the two sides. But also wanted to ask you, during these negotiations, President Trump seems to continue to make threats against Iran at the same time, saying he'll do what he has to if Iran doesn't keep the terms here. How does that dynamic play out? And what are you hearing from Iranians about this?
It's an extraordinary split screen between what we're hearing from President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. Vice President Vance came out yesterday and started talking about how he's working in the interests of the Iranian people and how he wants to basically the U.S. and Iran want to be hand in hand on this. And this came within several days of President Trump threatening to bomb Iran once again, threatening to destroy the country, which he said on social media, and at one point threatening, it sounded like, the safety or the freedom of Iran's negotiators in the Middle East or in Europe. So that was almost as if he was threatening to kidnap the Iranian negotiators. It was pretty wild. That was when the Iranian negotiators actually walked out of those negotiations. So that really put the whole process on the skids. So we're seeing these competing, yelling efforts, one by J.D. Vance, the other by President Trump, and it's causing just whiplash for these negotiators.
Yeah, whiplash, I'll bet. And Matt, another key piece of this is Lebanon and Israel's fighting with Hezbollah there. We know Iran has demanded that Israel ends its attacks there and withdraw its troops as part of any deal, but Israel saying it will continue to occupy southern Lebanon. How could that play into this? Could it hamper that permanent deal? And how's the administration viewing that?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we heard from the Prime Minister's office yesterday is that the Israelis are not part of this memorandum of understanding. They didn't sign on the dotted line. They weren't part of the negotiations, even if they were part of the war. So they've made it very clear. Yes, they are trying to abide by or trying to please the President of the United States and trying to work towards region-wide peace. But at the same time, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, he's facing such harsh criticism from the media here and from allied and rival politicians who are all saying that he needs to push into Lebanon and finish the job against Hezbollah in direct violation of what he's heard from the United States and the Memorandum of Understanding. So he's really facing an enormous amount of pressure. And so far, it looks like he's trying to, hold the candle from both that. I think that's the wrong metaphor. He's trying to have it both ways by fighting in Lebanon and assuring domestic audiences and potential voters that he's going to be pushing hard against Hezbollah, while at the same time not running afoul of a president who he has repeatedly described as Israel's best friend ever.
A lot of potential metaphors and a lot of moving parts there. We appreciate the reporting so much. We'll check back in. Thank you. Well, back here at home, at least 5 people have been arrested in connection with alleged vandalism at the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool. That's according to an administration official. Over the weekend, President Trump claimed vandals cut a 250-foot-long gash and threatened long-term prison sentences for those offenders. Here to talk about this and other news out of Washington is NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumback. Gary, thanks for being here. So what more do we know about this alleged tampering of the reflecting pool? Has there been any evidence of that vandalism? And do we know what's going to be done to fix it now?
We don't have a ton of information about the alleged tampering. The only information we do have is coming from White House officials. U.S. Park Police, we've contacted them multiple times. They're telling us nothing. The National Park Service is telling us nothing. The White House is the only one saying this information. And what we have from them is that there are 17 police reports that have been released, 6 arrests about this tampering, alleged tampering on the National Mall at the Reflecting Pool. The president was going on long allegations about this long slash across the Reflecting Pool. There's no actual evidence of that. I was down there yesterday. I was down there Friday. I saw no slash there. There were some allegations of people pouring chemicals in. The only chemicals that we saw being poured in was hydrogen peroxide by National Park Service employees themselves to try to kill some of that algae, which, by the way, they have done. In terms of what it's going to cost to get this back up and running, it's already cost them $16.4 million. And that is not even counting what's going to have to be done now, which is a redraining of the pool and a resurfacing of the pool, according to the president. So a long way to go here to repair the reflecting pool. Steve.
A lot of coverage on a reflecting pool, but it's something the Trump administration, President Trump himself, has talked a lot about, Gary. Also wanted to ask you about some other things going on in D.C. NBC News learning from a source familiar with the matter about a new purge that is occurring at National Intelligence Director's office under the new acting director there. What can you tell us about the downsizing that's happening at that agency?
Yeah, Bill Pulte, who has no experience in intelligence matters, has now cut about 400 people from the National Counterterrorism Center. This comes during a major summer of events and threats related to domestic terror here in the United States. Think about the World Cup happening all over North America. You've got major America 250 and Freedom 250 events happening in the U.S. And Bill Pulte has decided to downsize the National Counterterrorism Center. He's got the blessing from President Trump on this one. These folks will largely go back to one of the 18 agencies that are part of the intelligence community, Steve.
Definitely one to watch there. And another question about monuments and buildings there in D.C. It looks like President Trump's name has now been removed from the Kennedy Center's facade following that long court battle. What do we know about the latest?
Yeah, the name came off around June 13th, but this is the first few images we're actually seeing of the Kennedy Center without Trump's name on it. You can see it right there. These are photos from an activist group called Hands Off Our Arts, and they say they're proud to be able to show this to the American people, that it's actually been done. But as you can see, there's still scaffolding and still a tarp there. That has been up since they took those names down. The activists believe that's going to be up until the administration goes through their appeals process, which they've already started, Steve.
All right, a lot to watch. Gary Grumbach, thank you. Well, the midterms are 5 months away, but today is Election Day in a few states. Voters in New York, Maryland, Utah, and South Carolina will head to the polls for today's primaries with a couple key races to watch. That includes Manhattan's 12th congressional district, where a crowded field of Democrats are running to replace retiring Representative Jerry Nadler. Over in Maryland, incumbent Governor Wes Moore is running for re-election in the Democratic primary there. On the Republican side, Trump-backed State Attorney General Alan Wilson advanced to a runoff in South Carolina, and he's facing Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette in the race to succeed term limited Governor Henry McMaster. A lot of moving parts on this one, too. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin is here tracking it all for us. Not in D.C., in New York today. Great to see you, Julie. And a lot to get to. So let's start right here in New York with that battle for the 12th district. A lot of people involved here. A Kennedy or a Jack Schlossberg involved in this one. What are you watching for this race?
Yeah, there's so many moving parts here, as you said, and in part because this is one of the two seats in New York where it's an open congressional seat for the first time in 3 decades. So Jerry Nadler is retiring. He's stepping down, and you have a really crowded field. You mentioned some of those names. We saw them on the screen. There's a lot of money pouring into this race because there's a lot of outside spending. But one of the issues that I think is so interesting in this race, different from the other New York primaries, is the issue of AI and tech. Tech is spending big, and AI specifically, against Alex Boris, who is viewed as one of the front runners. So is Michael Lasher. They're both assemblymen, part of the New York Assembly. Again, this is such a big focus of the race, the tech issue specifically. I spoke to some voters in this district yesterday who told me that's exactly what they're looking at. But of course, also housing, the cost of health care, benefits, and so forth, also a focus of this race.
Yeah, just watching TV here in New York, those Lasher ads especially, I've seen them almost nonstop. All right, let's talk about the race in Maryland and why we might see sort of a repeat of what already happened there back in 2022.
Yeah, because Democrats are once again boosting the more extreme Republican candidate, Dan Cox. This is what happened in 2022. Wes Moore ended up beating him by about 30 points. This is a very blue state. So Democrats are sort of doing this intentionally. He's going up against a crowded field as well, Dan Cox, that is, in the Republican primary. That's really what we're watching here. But there's also Ed Hale, who's a Baltimore business owner. He owns that soccer team. And so people are really looking at him as somebody who can potentially take on a Democrat in the general. But again, Democrats are boosting his more extreme opponent. In a primary, somebody who's aligned with President Trump certainly will win. In a general, he'll have a hard time.
Fascinating dynamics. And speaking of that, in South Carolina, President Trump has endorsed both Republican contenders here. What's the strategy there?
Yeah, remember, President Trump a couple of weeks ago in the South Carolina primary actually endorsed Pamela Evette, who's the lieutenant governor. He wanted to kick Nancy Mace, who he has disagreed with, sort of to the bottom of that pack. Evette ended up not outperforming much. She didn't make it past that runoff. So that's why President Trump on Friday said, you know what? That I'll endorse you still, but I'll also endorse Alan Wilson, who she's running against, who is the attorney general in the state. So a lot to watch there tonight. President Trump saying, I don't know really who's going to win. So, of course, as we know, he doesn't like to put his bets behind a horse he doesn't know for sure will win the race.
So you can just bet on all the horses.
Exactly.
I guess that's how it works. And before we let you go, Julie, I'm fascinated. This could be maybe some bellwethers for November. What are you watching specifically?
Yeah, let's stick to New York, because this could be a big bellwether for Mayor Mamdani. It's really the first time since he won last year where he's endorsing certain candidates. He endorsed in 3 primary races in New York 7, for example, Claire Valdez, who is seen somewhat similar to her opponent, Antonio Reynoso, in terms of their platform, both very progressive. Reynoso has a lot of experience, but Mamdani picking Valdez, who is sort of an insurgent candidate. The same story in New York 10 with Brad Lander versus Dan Goldman, who's the incumbent Democrat there. The big difference between the two of them, aside from their position on Israel, is also who chose to endorse Mamdani. Mamdani in his mayoral race. It was Lander, not Goldman. And a similar story throughout in other districts as well. Antonio Espaillat running in New York 13. He's somebody who's been the Hispanic caucus chair, an insurgent candidate running against him, Mamdani throwing his weight behind her. So this is really going to come down to, are the young people turning out? There's been lower turnout than they expected. A lot of turnout last year from Mamdani in an off-year election. But certainly this is going to be one to watch in terms of the establishment of the Democratic Party versus the Democratic Socialists.
The endorsement game alone is fascinating to watch. Julia Sturkin, great to see you. Thanks for breaking that down for us.
Yeah.
All right, now let's turn to the latest in the search for Nancy Guthrie, who was abducted from her home nearly 5 months ago. We've known about the existence of the so-called ransom notes sent to the media outlets for months now, but the contents of one of these notes had not been disclosed until now. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has the details and the latest on the investigation.
For the first time, NBC News is reporting new details about one of 2 notes sent to media outlets regarding Nancy Guthrie's abduction. According to 3 people familiar with the matter, the second note indicated the 84-year-old had died. It did not contain an apology or any request for payment for the release of her body. After that note was sent, Savannah and her siblings posted this message.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
That note was sent just days after media outlets received an alleged ransom note saying Nancy was safe and demanding cryptocurrency in exchange for her release. Investigators involved in the case believe the notes are potentially credible, a sentiment shared by Savannah.
There are a lot of different notes, I think, that came, and I think most of them, it's my understanding, are not real. I believe the 2 notes that we received, that we responded to, I tend to believe those are real.
Months later, investigators are still trying to identify this masked man seen on Nancy's Nest camera the night she was taken. The Pima County Sheriff's Office says Google, which owns Nest, has retrieved hundreds of other images from cameras around her house, but nothing more showing anything suspicious.
Almost 5 months, just unthinkable. Our thanks to Liz Kreutz for that report. For more analysis on this investigation, let's bring in Chip Massey. He is a former FBI hostage negotiator. Chip, thanks so much for being here this morning. So even though the details of the notes are new to us, they are not new to investigators. They've known what's in that note for many months now. How do you think that information has shaped the way they've conducted this investigation?
Yeah, Steve, excellent question. And it has 2 parts to it. When they have this kind of information, what they have to do is their first job, find Nancy. The second portion is to protect the case against hoaxes and false ransom notes. And the third that they have to do is make sure that they're compiling all the information that they can to gather that intelligence to make a case.
Yeah, and obviously not an easy task. And as we saw in Liz's piece there, we know Savannah and her family, they spoke to these kidnappers in social media videos, rewards that they offered. Why do you think that that wouldn't bring the suspect forward if that's what they were asking for in these notes?
Yeah, exactly. What happens in these situations is there's somebody that's tentative, somebody that's on the fence. It still requires them to trust. It still requires them to push out of their comfort zone and make a decision. Hey, this is a lot of money now. You know, maybe I should come forward. But they still have to trust that they're going to be okay in the process, that they're not going to be brought into this in some kind of they're part of this conspiracy.
There's so many people that I talk to about this case that are just so shocked that it's been 5 months. It's almost unthinkable that it could be this long with someone like Savannah Guthrie's family in a situation like this. Is that unusual, or is it just unusual because we actually feel like we know this family?
Well, that's a really good point, Stephen, because the world feels like they know this family. It's changed the way America looks at crime. We've always been involved and curious about true crime and that element. But there's something here that's different. The social narrative, the social media is pushing forward, demanding answers from this country, from this investigation. So what we're seeing is what used to be on milk cartons is now coming across our phones. And there's still the opportunity for somebody to come forward and do the right thing here. But Absolutely. There's so many different elements here that say, we're looking at this in a new way. And remember, just because we don't hear about any leads doesn't mean they aren't there and that they aren't pursuing. This case is still being actively pursued.
I was going to ask you that. There are people who will ask just casually, are there updates on this case? What's the latest in the investigation? And often there's not an update on this investigation. Does that strike you as unusual, or is it just that this is going on behind the scenes?
Not at all. And that's the point, your latter point there. Things are still going on behind the scenes. We don't know what the investigators are working with. We just got this new, perhaps, information about what was leaked. These things tend to shake the bushes. And that's what we want. We want people to think about, oh, I remember that investigator came to my door. I thought about something else. Or another person comes into the scene and a new photograph is examined in a different way. New technology, new way of looking at the forensics. All these are being applied for sure.
A lot to go through, Chip. Thanks for helping us understand what's going on here. We certainly appreciate it. If you have any information on Nancy's disappearance, please contact the number in the bottom of your screen there, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Well, there's much more to come this morning on Morning News Now, including how parents can actually impact their teens' relationships simply by the way they scroll on their phones. We'll explain that one. First, though, after the break, more World Cup action that's got Lionel Messi notching yet another accolade in Argentina's win against Austria yesterday. We've got those highlights coming up next. We're back now with more on a deadly shooting caught on camera in Montreal, Canada. At least 2 people are dead after a gunman started shooting from a hotel window, targeting police officers and civilians. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin has the video. We do want to warn you, it is disturbing to see.
Chilling footage shows the dramatic final moments when a gunman opened fire on police and bystanders in Montreal.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
The video's so graphic, we cannot show you most of it. You see an officer shot, another officer crouching for cover, gun drawn, as shots ring out. In a separate video, you hear a terrified eyewitness.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
You see a bystander drop to the ground, the body of the police officer nearby. What appears to be the suspect, wearing camouflage and armed with a rifle, rushes toward the other officer. The suspect eventually shot dead. Montreal police say officers had responded to a 911 call of shots fired and a gun protruding from the window of a hotel. Officials say the suspect opened fire on police when they arrived. They say an officer and bystander were killed. Eyewitness Heidi Doctor's 2 kids were getting a haircut nearby.
Nauseous. I mean, knowing that my son literally was on his scooter on that street with no protection other than a helmet and was minutes from when the shootings took place, I haven't processed it yet.
Police have yet to release the names of the victims. Canada's second largest city reeling. Aaron McLaughlin, NBC News.
All right, let's switch gears now and get some of the latest headlines in the World Cup. Now that there's a new goal-scoring king in the tournament. There's good, there's great, and then there's Lionel Messi. The Argentinian is now the all-time leading goal scorer at the World Cup after scoring twice in yesterday's match against Austria. Argentina went on to win 2-0, which helped them clinch first place in their group. Messi has already put away 5 goals in just 2 games this tournament, which brings his total World Cup tally to 18 goals. And that was just the beginning of the incredible star power on display during yesterday's matches. For all the World Cup latest, let's bring in senior editor at The Athletic, Hannah Van Bibber. Hannah, good morning to you. Thanks for being here. So we got to start with Messi's newest record. He's 39 years old, playing his 6th World Cup, and he continues to outshine just about everyone else. How much more can he build on his already legendary status?
That is such a great question at this point. When you talk about Messi, it's like, what superlative can I use to speak of this player? He is, our analysts all say, the GOAT of football. And this is just another, in terms of how to speak of Messi, you're just talking about records broken. So, and this is a World Cup that a lot of people thought he would not attend. And he came back at age 38 to play and lead his team's goals. He's the only person who's scored for Argentina. So I'll be excited to see where he goes, how much further he pushes this record.
hard to imagine this World Cup without him at this point. But we can't mention goals without talking about Mbappe and Erling Haaland. They both scored 4 goals across their first 2 games. Who do you think will end up as the top goal scorer this World Cup overall?
Yeah, it's a tight race for the Golden Boot, which is the award given to the top goal scorer. Right now, I think Mbappe and Messi are expected to be in a tight race there. The crazy thing about this record that Messi just set is that Kylian Mbappe for France is about to smash it as well. He has 16 World Cup goals compared to Messi's 18. And that's in only 3 World Cups. This is his 3rd instead of his 6th, like Messi. So that is a superstar we're going to have for a while. And watch him to break that record, maybe surpass Messi at some point during this tournament. And then, of course, Norway's Erling Haaland scored 2 yesterday. He's scored in both of their wins. There are a few more. Harry Kane of England. So it'll be a really fun tournament to watch. Spain's Lamine Yamal is one of the youngest players there, and he's an incredible striker. So keep an eye on that race.
Will do. So much to watch. And this is the first year that there have been 48 teams in the World Cup. So after almost these 2 weeks now, what are your overall reactions to a bigger tournament?
Yeah, I am a proponent of the bigger tournament. It's somewhat controversial in football circles. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? But I think in this first group stage, we've seen upsets we never expected. We've seen Curaçao's joy. We've seen Cape Verde tie with Spain. We've seen so many fans all over the world who wouldn't be able to be here if it wasn't expanded. I think that has allowed us to have these surprises and these early moments that everyone can celebrate together. So I really enjoy the expanded tournament and just seeing sort of what I call the football joy. But perhaps my biggest excitement and surprise is how well the U.S. men's national team has played. Beyond all expectations, they've won their group. I'm so thrilled to see how far they can go beyond the group stage.
Yeah, I can see that joy. So many people so excited about it. I see a lot of Mbappe and, of course, Messi jerseys walking around New York. And we got those games today. And after today, each team will have played twice. Is there any of the 4 matches today that stand out to you that you're keeping your eye on especially close?
Yeah, I'm curious to see Portugal's game versus Uzbekistan. Cristiano Ronaldo is another one of the household names out there. And he had sort of a muted first game, which probably unfairly brought some, pushback online. But I'll be curious to see if he scores in this game and joins that race, or how Ronaldo looks as he comes out. And then I'm very excited to see England versus Ghana. Harry Kane, who I mentioned, is in that Golden Boot race. He is a huge Patriots fan, and Tom Brady is one of the reasons that he is where he is in his career. He's a hero of his, and he gets to play at the Patriots home stadium today. So that'll be a fun one to watch.
Football, I love it.
That's
Hannah
right.
Van Ripper, thanks so much for your time today. Fascinating stuff. And you can experience every goal, every celebration, and every unforgettable moment of the FIFA World Cup 2026 exclusively in Spanish on Telemundo and Peacock. Coming up, could headbanging actually be good for you and, well, your head? When we come back, we'll tune in to some new research that's revealing the potential mental health benefits of listening to heavy metal music. That's right. The doctor is in, coming up next. Welcome back. It's time now for our weekly mental health check-in. This week, we've got important info for parents on how their personal time scrolling can impact their teens' relationships. Plus, the unexpected mental health benefits of one very loud music genre. For more on this, let's bring in Dr. Roby Ludwig. She is a psychotherapist and author of Your Best Age Is Now. Good morning, Dr. Roby.
Good morning.
We'd love to see you. Let's start with that study about teens and their parents' phone use. This was a little mind-boggling to me. It links how long their parents spend scrolling with how secure their teens feel in their relationships, making them maybe more likely to develop what's known as an insecure attachment style. Explain what that means, if you could, and what ways families could help fix this potential problem.
Yes. So it's referred to as technoference. And this is when parents get absorbed into their phone and they just get lost and lose track of their teens and being available to them emotionally. And sometimes kids can feel like they're less important than the phone, which is not the message we want to send to kids. So it can produce an insecure attachment, which means that a child can have an avoidant attachment, which means that they feel uncomfortable with closeness, and they can have an insecure attachment, which means that they are always looking for validation. The good news is if parents are aware of this, they can change it, become more in tune with their child, and they can actually turn this around. So self-awareness really works very well here when it comes to being absorbed into our phones when we're around our kids.
I'm a big fan of self-awareness and putting down that phone. So I love that answer. Thanks so much, Dr. Rubio. Also wanted to ask you about this one. Speaking of parents, we just celebrated Father's Day over the weekend, of course. So let's talk about dads. This is another new study that says fathers who take paid paternal leave to help care for their babies show lower rates of depression. Yet data shows the average time for paid family leave is much longer for mothers than it is for fathers here in the U.S. So why is paternity leave so important for dads and their mental health? Of course, we think of postpartum depression for mothers. Is there something similar maybe for fathers?
Yeah, they found that also fathers can suffer from postpartum depression. They can feel anxious, depressed, out of sync. And so when fathers are given paid leave for paternity leave, they feel much more connected to their child. And this connection can also have prolonged effects in terms of having a stronger parental bond. They also can have a stronger connection with their wife and family because they are around to help out and the family can adjust all together. And here's the unique thing about men and mental health. They do not always feel comfortable expressing their mental health concerns or issues. And so we don't always know when men are depressed or anxious. Sometimes they come off as moody or irritable and in some cases isolated. So this is really a great study that can turn things around, that men, in addition to women, really do benefit from this time off when it's paid.
Important stuff. This one I was also pretty interested in, Dr. Robbie, the mental health that we could get from mental health. Researchers say that head banging as a genre can have some surprising mental health benefits. Is that true? Is that something that rings true for you?
Yes, this is especially true for people who love heavy metal music. And what they discovered is for those who love the genre, it could be really cathartic in terms of processing angry emotions, not causing angry emotions, but helping them assuage some of their emotional regulation that feels dysregulated. They can identify certain feelings as well. And so the study found that this music can help people feel like they're validated in terms of their emotion and also find a community where mental health is also supported and acknowledged around this new issue. But I love this study. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. If you love heavy metal, then heavy metal probably is good for you. Makes total sense. Dr. Robbie, thanks so much for all the information today. We really appreciate it. All right, well, going gray has long been considered an inevitable part of us aging, but new early-stage research shows there might be a way to reverse it. One scientist in Alabama is testing a type of experimental immunotherapy designed to restore the cells responsible for natural hair color. NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson takes us inside the lab.
Today, gray peppers red carpets. Actors, rockers, even the fictional high priestess of fashion wears it.
Everybody wants this.
But us lesser mortals still want our crowning glory to hide what is a frustrating fact of life. You will get gray hair. Now in this lab at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, Melissa Harris is working on ways to do more than just cover it up.
Is it possible to reverse gray hair?
I absolutely think it is possible to reverse gray hair.
To do that, you first must understand the graying process.
Why does our hair gray?
Our hair grays mostly because of the loss of the cells that we need to keep our hair colored over the entirety of our lifetime.
Your color is controlled by two different kinds of cells: stem cells that create pigment cells that color your hair.
I would say the major reason why we gray is loss of these cells as we age.
Is there a way to get them back?
I think there is if you reactivate your stem cell population.
One theory she's working on involves immunotherapy. It was used to treat lung cancer in 14 patients with an unexpected benefit. Their hair reverted to its natural color. To unlock the mystery, Harris is trying it on animals.
In this set of animals, we've given them the immunotherapy that we believe is going to help prevent gray hair.
And it's made a huge difference.
Yeah, we definitely can see this is mimicking what we've seen in humans that have gotten this immunotherapy, where they have these really dramatic gray hair reversals.
The other possibility is to use a small molecule therapy to reactivate the stem cells to make more pigment cells. You can see the results on this screen.
Wow. I mean, you've gone from a few pigmented cells
to a lot of pigmented cells.
Wow.
Yeah, so we can do these kinds of things in the lab. And so now it's just transitioning it to human application.
Gray hair can be exacerbated by other factors: smoking, drinking, and poor nutrition.
What about stress?
So stress, only more recently in the scientific world have we identified actual scientific mechanisms that show that really high levels of stress can cause those cells that make the pigment to really not be happy.
Just take a look at some of our recent presidents: Jimmy Carter, George W. Bush, Barack Obama. Dr. Lauren Cole is a dermatologist at UAB.
If somebody wanted to reverse the graying process and came to you, what would you tell them today?
Unfortunately, I don't have great options for you at this stage, but it may be something we could consider in the future.
A future Dr. Harris is working to uncover.
By the time I retire, I hope to have this solution on the market.
Ann Thompson, NBC News.
Pretty futuristic, and thanks. Well, coming up, summer is finally officially upon us, and the only thing hotter than the temps outside are the deals you can find online. But where can you grab the best bang for your buck? And what should you hold off on until the next big sale? We're watching your wallet, coming up next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. Summer savings are heating up. Amazon, Walmart, and Target are all offering some of their best deals of the season. So what's worth actually buying now, and what's better left for a sale a little later? NBC Select reporter Zoe Mallon is here to help us shop smarter and save more. I like the sound of all those things, Zoe. So Amazon Prime Day kicks off today. I've gotten alerts on my Alexa so many times about it already. So is there a plan that you should make, and what should that plan look like?
Yes, so your plan really should look like shopping for the things that you really need in the right categories. So during Prime Day, some of those include brands Amazon owns, especially devices like your Alexa, Kindles, Fire, speakers, things like that. Tech in general is a really great category. So if you're someone who's looking for Apple AirPods or maybe a JBL speaker to take with you on a trip this summer, those are all some of the deals we're seeing. We also recommend shopping for any of those kitchen appliances that end up on your counter, like toasters and blenders, or any of those home appliances that end up on your floor, like a vacuum or an air purifier. And since Prime Day is actually a month earlier in June this year, it gives you more time to enjoy your summer purchases. So bathing suits, maybe you're someone shopping for pool toys, things like that. And then my absolute favorite category, everyday essentials. You need paper towels, groceries, skincare, all of that anyway, so you might as well get it on sale. I always recommend just walking around your home and making a list of everything you're almost running out of. It'll probably be on sale.
I saw a great sale on dog treats. Not something I would expect.
An essential.
Hey, I should stock up there.
Exactly.
An essential, you're right. So the flip side of this, are there certain things we should hold off on and wait for a different time of year to buy?
Yes, there's 4 big ones. So the first is any July 4th categories. That includes large home and kitchen appliances, mattresses, and your patio furniture and grills. We also recommend against shopping TVs and video game consoles right now. We'll see better deals during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And then as far as school supplies and fall fashion ago. You will start to see some deals right now, but as we get closer to the school year, that's really where the best deals lie. And there will be tax-free holidays coming up this summer in some states, so that can help you save too.
I love the sound of that. So are there strategies that people could follow to make sure they're actually saving money instead of just buying something because there's like a nice sale on it?
Yes, totally. So the first thing you should do is make that list. It really does help keep you on track. We can even do it in the Amazon app. We also recommend setting up deal alerts through Alexa for shopping. So you can say, set a deal alert for when Apple AirPods go on sale, and then it will notify you. That helps with impulse control a little bit too.
Yeah.
We also recommend tracking prices to see if something's actually a good deal or just inflated and then dropped down. Make sure you're comparing prices too across retailers. So many are having sales right now. So see who has the best deal and the best shipping fee. And then also shop those lightning deals. These are limited time deals on Amazon, limited quantities, and some of the deepest discounts. Make sure you're checking those return policies and make sure you are making sure that you are understanding when something is going to get to you.
Ooh, important stuff.
Yeah.
I also want to ask you quickly here, don't have a lot of time, but Walmart, Target, other retailers also running big sales. Where are we seeing the best savings for them?
Yes, so Walmart sales the longest, no membership required. So if you do forget something, you can get it even this weekend. Target sale, you do need a membership for that, but you can actually join Target Circle for free, which is a great thing. Yeah. There's also deals on Sephora and Ulta right now on beauty too.
Okay, love that. Got to shop around. Zoe Mallon, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Important information there. Well, for the latest and greatest summer deals, plus more shopping tips from Zoe and her team, be sure to scan the QR code there. You can also go to nbcnews.com/select. NBC News earns a commission from purchases made through those links. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but your news continues right now. Good morning. Thanks for being here. I'm Stephen Romo in for Joe and Savannah today. And right now on Morning News Now, summer storms, severe weather across the country causing widespread flooding and damage. Emergency crews having to help people navigate through the rising waters as many were forced to evacuate their homes. And the trouble even stopped a World Cup match for more than 2 hours in Philadelphia. We'll tell you what you can expect today when we check in with meteorologist Angie Lastman in just a moment. Good progress. That's how Vice President J.D. Vance describes the negotiations with Iran, attempting to put an end to this nearly 4-month-long war. The vice president saying Iran has agreed to allow nuclear inspectors back into their country, although the Iranians don't seem to be on the same page about that. The latest ahead on those talks and what's next in the conflict. Wire-to-wire winner Wyndham Clark held off the competition this past weekend to win the 126th U.S. Open on Long Island. Coming up this hour, we'll catch up with the golf star live and talk about his major win and what's next for the now 2-time U.S. Open champion. And box office blockbuster. Movie fans are flocking to theaters in levels not seen since before the pandemic. We'll tell you what's sparking this Hollywood revival and the biggest movies to watch out for this summer, from The Odyssey to The Minions. A lot to get to this morning, but we do begin with those strong storms moving across the country. Millions of people waking up under the threat of serious flooding as a new round of intense storms are expected to soak parts of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. This comes after another storm system brought flash flooding to the Southeast, leading to swift water rescues in Kentucky yesterday. NBC News meteorologist Angie Lastman will have a look at your forecast coming up in just a moment. But first, let's bring in NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda, who joins us from Newark, New Jersey, with the latest on this. A lot to cover here, Emily.
Yeah, hey, Stephen, good morning to you. You can see the force of those strong winds and heavy rains in this massive downed tree stretching across the roadway here, clipping that car. You can see how it's tangled the power lines behind me. Newark is among the areas to receive record rainfall, making for a messy cleanup this morning.
Overnight, intense storms bringing a barrage of rain and dangerous flooding.
I can't get out of here no matter which way I go.
Emergency crews in Kentucky trudging through waist-deep water to rescue residents from floodwaters that overwhelmed their cars.
I take a look to my right, and everybody's car's underwater. I was very surprised.
Flooding also hitting the Northeast. In New Jersey, cars and trucks stuck in rising water and workers wading through. While this chaotic scene, the result of a suspected tornado in Virginia. leaving behind snapped trees and blocked roadways. Crews and first responders working to clear the mess across the region. Strong winds also wreaking havoc on power lines in multiple states, with transformers seen sparking in Mississippi and tens of thousands left in the dark across the southeast. Destructive wind gusts also in Colorado, whipping up dust. Reportedly over 100 miles per hour clocked outside Denver. This latest round of storms impacting nearly half the country. Thunderstorms disrupting Major League Baseball games and even forcing the World Cup to pause for the first time in this tournament.
And now airports are also trying to recover from that major mess as well. Ground stops and delays from D.C. up to Boston led to nearly 10,000 flight disruptions yesterday. Fortunately, we are seeing some improvement today, Stephen.
All right, Emily, thanks so much for that latest update. And we've got more on the severe storms with your morning news now weather. Meteorologist Angie Lastman joins us now with her new accessory. You're back from your injury vacation, let's call it.
Yeah, my new BFF, my scooter, will be with me for the foreseeable future, Stephen. The good news is the rain, not so much when it comes to some of those folks that dealt with really the kind of aggressive storms that we were seeing popping up yesterday. We still have some of this rain kind of lingering through the day, so notice that there's flood watches still in effect across parts of the mid-Atlantic, but a lot of that rain, places like New York, you're dry for right now. We will still see the shower chances in the picture, though, as these two areas of low pressure and these frontal boundaries kind of slide off to the east. That leaves us with some kind of steady rain across this region through the day today, and potentially picking up another maybe 2 to even up to 4 inches across this region. Again, stretching down from parts of North Carolina all the way up through Boston. You'll see some additional rain throughout the day today, but nothing like what we were dealing with yesterday. So that's the good news. Meanwhile, across the middle of the country, things are ramping up. We'll have that afternoon severe risk across parts of the Rockies and the Plains, and we keep that severe threat in the picture for tomorrow, too. Look at exactly the locations that we're seeing the greatest chance for that through the day today. So it's Cheyenne, Denver, stretching a little farther south to Amarillo, out towards Oklahoma City, all included in that with all the threats on the table. But mainly we're looking for wind gusts up to 75 miles per hour, as well as some hail and maybe some isolated tornadoes. A big picture look temperature-wise, you'll notice it feels a lot more comfortable across parts of the mid-Atlantic, stretching back to the northern and central plains. Not so much, though, along the Gulf Coast and out towards the southwest, where we've got temperatures running way above normal in places like Las Vegas and Phoenix, well into the triple digits. Albuquerque, 100 degrees today. Not so much for Minneapolis, North Platte, Chicago. All of those locations are going to be into the 70s. It's going to be really comfortable. You'll see some relief from the humidity as well. 85 degrees in Tulsa today, and we keep those seasonably mild conditions going into tomorrow as well across the Great Lakes, parts of the Ohio Valley, and extending out towards the east. Washington, D.C., 82 degrees. But again, those humidity levels are going to be a little lower than they have been, so it'll feel really nice and comfortable across this region. If we move farther to the south, unfortunately, if you're looking for the cool air, you're going to have to travel for it, because places like Dallas, Memphis, New Orleans, all at 100 plus for an extended period. You see this triple-digit heat index that we're going to see all the way into the weekend. So this is going to be a location that you're really going to want to find a cool spot. Columbia included in that, Jacksonville, Tampa, Houston, all going to see those 100-plus degree temperatures, and, of course, the humidity not making it feel any better for folks in that region over the next couple of days and into the weekend, Stephen.
Summer is here. All right. Angie, thank you.
Of course.
All right, now the latest on Iran. Vice President J.D. Vance is back in the U.S. after meetings with Iranian officials in Switzerland. Vance touted progress in talks to reach a final deal to end the war. He said there was a good foundation for long-term peace. Among the points in the initial agreement, the U.S. will temporarily waive sanctions on Iranian oil, potentially giving them a big financial incentive here. All this as we start to see more traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has the latest from Washington. Gabe, good morning.
Hi, Stephen. Good morning. We're now in that 60-day window to reach a broader peace deal. Frantic diplomacy is underway in Switzerland, Pakistan, and the Middle East, where Secretary of State Marco Rubio heads today for some high-level meetings with key U.S. allies. This morning, with more ships trickling through the reopened Strait of Hormuz, talks for a broader peace deal between the U.S. and Iran are intensifying.
They can be confusing negotiators, but we feel like we're making progress.
Vice President J.D. Vance returning to the U.S. after the marathon first round of negotiations following President Trump signing that preliminary memorandum of understanding last week.
The final deal is the house. We set the foundation. We haven't built the house, but we've laid a successful foundation.
The vice president says Iran has now agreed to allow nuclear inspectors back into their country. But today, Iran's foreign ministry says no visits have been scheduled and stressed that under no circumstances have Iran's defensive and missile capabilities been part of our discussion. Also, in a sharp reversal, Iran is now receiving a 60-day waiver for U.S. sanctions, allowing them to sell oil freely on the open market. Critics say that, plus the potential unfreezing of Iranian assets, rewards the regime.
And the reality is we get much further away from a deal because that's our primary leverage.
But President Trump is defending the moves.
Money that's being unfrozen is going to be used to buy food, and the food's going to be bought exclusively through the United States from our farmers. And corn, soybeans.
As for the Strait of Hormuz, on Monday, 15 oil tankers were tracked moving through the crucial shipping route, according to S&P Global Market Intelligence. That's the most since Iran closed the waterway early in the war.
If Iran doesn't live up to their agreement, or if they're not behaving, I will do what I have to do.
Still, some of the trickiest issues of these talks are still popping up. Despite what the president said, the governor of Iran's central bank arguing overnight that the country has no obligation to buy agricultural products using its unfrozen assets. Just a short time ago, the president posting online that if Iran does not agree to bring in those nuclear inspectors, he's calling off negotiations altogether, Stephen.
All right, a lot to watch there. Gabe, thank you. Let's continue the conversation about this with writer, journalist, and NBC News contributor Houman Majd. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Let's start with some of those points that seem to be agreed on in the deal. First of all, how significant are the waivers on the sanctions, the potentially unfreezing Iranian assets? How do they affect both Tehran and the hopes for ending the war?
Well, I mean, they're not insignificant, but they're not as significant as some people have argued, particularly people, who are against this deal. Iran has suffered probably over $1 trillion worth of damage to its infrastructure, to the country, to its military. And we're talking about a few $1 billion. We're not talking about anything coming close to that $1 trillion. And of course, there's that $300 billion supposed tranche of money that will become available. We're not sure where it's coming from, should the deal be completed by the end of the 60 days, the nuclear deal, I mean. But it's not insignificant. Iran needs money. Its economy is in very poor shape. Inflation is running at close to 100%. So it does this money that will come in and will go directly to the central bank on the oil sales, for example. That's particularly significant in some ways. That's going to help stabilize the economy to some degree and also bring some relief to the people, economic relief to the people, hoping that the inflation goes down. Perfect example of that is that just since the memorandum was signed, the rial, the Persian currency, Iranian currency, has gained about 10% against the dollar, and it had been going down virtually day by day. So yeah, it's not insignificant. In terms of the frozen assets, there's this confusing, the United States is saying it's only going to be for purchasing American foodstuffs and medicines. The Iranians saying no. The details are we don't know exactly what it is. But of course, both sides are going to claim something different. No question about that. And the reality will end up somewhere in the middle.
Yep, sounds like a negotiation, but one with a lot of moving parts. And as we heard in Gabe's piece, Vice President Vance says Iran will allow nuclear inspectors back into the country, but Iran's foreign minister has denied those claims. Does that discrepancy concern you?
No, not at all. I mean, first of all, the word back is incorrect because the nuclear inspectors have been in the country since, continuously almost. They've been inspecting the 2 nuclear facilities that Iran does have, peaceful ones, the Bushehr reactor in the south of Iran, and they go to that, they visit that, and the Tehran reactor in Tehran, which is for isotopes, medical isotopes. So going back into the country, whether Vice President Vance meant that they're going to go and inspect the destroyed nuclear sites, that's what the Iranians are saying. The Iranians are saying, no, they're not going to allow inspectors to go to those sites, which are basically rubble right now. Not even clear what those inspectors would be able to do in those sites. Now, there are some other places where there's been some centrifuge activity, for example, building the centrifuges. Perhaps that will be part of the final deal where the inspectors are allowed to go to that. But right now, the inspectors can go to the Bushehr reactor and the Tehran reactor, and that depends on their coordination. But those are not banned by Iran.
Yeah, it certainly is. Another part of all this is Israel's war in Hezbollah to just complicate matters even further in Lebanon. As you know, Iran wants Lebanon to be included in any potential peace deal, but Israel said yesterday it would continue to occupy southern Lebanon. Do you see Israel withdrawing its troops anytime soon? And if not, could that be something that will potentially derail this deal?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest question of all. Hezbollah is, yes, very close to Iran. Iran can ask it to not break the ceasefire. It can ask it to hold its position and not, try to attack IDF troops in southern Lebanon. But it can't force it to do so. I mean, when I say that, I mean, I'm not even sure if the leaders of Hezbollah have complete authority over, for example, a rogue element that wants to go and hit Israeli troops. And on the other hand, you've got Israel, which says, we're not a part of this deal. Why should we be forced to abide by something that we had no say in whatsoever? So there is that understanding that this is probably the one element that is most likely to scuttle this deal. Whether President Trump has the ability or authority or wants to challenge Netanyahu is another question. At this point, so far, he has, apparently.
It'll be interesting to see where this goes. Feels pretty unclear at the moment. Houman Maj, thanks so much for your time this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, in Washington, President Trump is facing a very different battle as well. This one with algae covering the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool after its multi-million-dollar renovation. According to the White House, at least 6 people have now been arrested for allegedly tampering with the D.C. landmark. President Trump is threatening prison time for anyone who vandalizes it. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Garrett Hake is at the reflecting pool with the details. Good morning, Garrett.
Even with the war in Iran and rising inflation on his plate, the president has made clear that fixing this pool is a top presidential priority. His vision was for an expanse of American flag blue stretching from here at the Lincoln Memorial all the way to the Washington Monument in the distance. And what we have here today may be a little bit more aquamarine. It's clear there has been some progress made, with the president blaming any setbacks on criminal vandals.
With 2 weeks to go until America's 250th birthday, the nation's reflecting pool, the subject of intense focus in President Trump's ongoing campaign to refresh Washington, D.C., is still looking more algae green than America blue.
There's lots of green, and it smells really bad.
The president on Monday repeating his unsubstantiated claims that the Washington, D.C. landmark is under deliberate attack. First suggesting that vandals sliced the bottom of the reflecting pool.
I saw it. They cut it very violently.
And claiming the alleged incident was caught on camera.
Can you release the photos? At the right time you'll see it. You'll see it in court. You'll see it in court.
The president also suggesting the algae bloom was the result of sabotage.
Somebody said fertilizer in the water. If you put fertilizer in the water, you get algae.
According to the White House, 17 police reports have been filed for vandalism, leading to 6 arrests. U.S. Olympic canoeist David Hearn says he was detained for 5 hours last week after he touched the peeling paint.
I didn't think I'd done anything wrong. Kind of before I knew it, I was being handcuffed and realized I was being arrested.
As part of the reflecting pool project, the federal government did employ a company to clean up the water, awarding a $1.7 million no-bid contract to Green Water Solutions, the company owned by John J. Cafaro, who gave $250,000 to the Trump Victory Committee in 2020, according to FEC filings. The reflecting pool, part of Trump's changes throughout the nation's capital in his second term, including the demolition of the east wing of the White House and a planned arch. but one now rolled back after a federal judge ordered Trump's name be removed from the Kennedy Center following a months-long court battle. The building had been covered by a tarp. Yesterday, new photos showing the building without the president's name.
Back here at the reflecting pool, you can see an abnormal amount of security is now in place around it. We've got National Guard patrolling, federal marshals are here. There are even security cameras ringing the pool every 25 to 50 yards or so. As for the cleanup effort itself, Green Water Solutions, the company contracted to do it, says their system's working and that the water itself is clear. The remaining discoloration, they say, is from algae now dead at the bottom of the pool that simply has to be vacuumed up.
The unexpected saga of the summer. Garrett Haake, thank you. Well, a key witness for the defense in the case against Charlie Kirk's accused killer will not be allowed to testify in court next month. Yesterday, a judge dismissed a motion by Tyler Robinson's attorneys to subpoena his former romantic partner to testify in person at a preliminary hearing set for July 6th. Robinson faces multiple charges in connection with the conservative activist's killing during a debate at Utah Valley University last year. That includes felony aggravated murder. His next court date is set for Friday. Robinson has not yet entered a plea. NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos is here to break all this down for us. So, Danny, at this stage, the judge is deciding what will and will not be allowed in court. What more do you know about this witness, Lance Twiggs, and why the judge sided with prosecutors here?
Because a preliminary hearing is not a trial. It may look like an adversarial hearing, but its only purpose is to determine probable cause. It often acts as a substitute for a grand jury indictment. And so because the stakes are a lot lower in the sense that the person is not on trial for their life, instead it's just a probable cause hearing, states will often relax requirements. And the trend over the last few years is to make it easier and easier for prosecutors to get evidence in. It's their show. They can usually rely on hearsay. And so it's not surprising to me that the defense's request to bring in a witness and have them testify was denied. For no other reason than it's simply not required, either by the Constitution or the local rules.
Yeah, it's fascinating there. You mentioned the hearsay. The judge denied a motion from Robinson's attorneys seeking to block the state from relying on hearsay to establish probable cause. Just from, watching legal shows on TV, you think hearsay, how is that allowed? Is that a normal part of this?
Right. And the reason is that you're not at trial. So it may seem strange. And look, I'm a defense attorney. I don't like the fact that states are moving in a direction where they make it easier and easier to meet that burden at a probable cause hearing, if it's a preliminary hearing like this. And really what's happened throughout the country is that it used to be at preliminary hearings, they would call the officer, they would call the victim. Now what you see is courts and states are saying, well, we don't like all these cases getting dismissed at preliminary hearings, so let's make it a little easier. And one of the biggest changes over the years has been that, yes, you can use hearsay at a preliminary hearing. And so the rules of evidence are relaxed, and often in some jurisdictions, it's just a matter of the prosecutor reading from the probable cause statement, and that's enough. The rules of evidence are not as strictly applied at a preliminary hearing as, of course, they would be at trial.
We're talking about preliminary hearing, but way down the road, of course, the death penalty is a big question in this case, something that prosecutors have already talked about. Is that something that they're currently pushing for, prosecutors? And how could his attorneys try to get that off the table?
Well, they're already trying. They've made a motion to take the death penalty off the table as a kind of punishment for the prosecution. They say allegedly making statements to the press, extrajudicial statements, which they're not supposed to do. It's not likely it's going to be granted, but if you're the defense, you want to make every request you can to get the death penalty off the table and put it on the record so that even if you lose at the trial stage, you preserve that issue for appeal. And in a case like this, it's very likely if there's a conviction, you're going to see an appeal, and they can raise that issue. They may not be successful, but at least they preserved it for the record.
All right. A lot more to come on this one. Danny Ceballos, thanks so much. And much more to come this morning on Morning News Now. Later this hour, Hollywood is having its best year so far since before the pandemic. We'll tell you what's leading to the box office revival and the best blockbusters you'll want to catch this summer. But up first, it is hot, hot, hot across the Atlantic. A record-setting heat wave in Europe forcing people to find some new ways to cool off. We'll take you there coming up next. Back now with the record-setting heat wave that is gripping much of Europe. Temperatures there are soaring into triple digits, causing one of the worst heat waves in the continent's known history. NBC News international correspondent Molly Hunter is in London and joins us now with more on this one. Hope you're staying cool out there, Molly.
Sort of staying cool, Stephen. Good morning. We found a spot under the shade. You can see there's a pool behind me. There is a little bit of a breeze if you kind of look really, really closely. But this is a sizzling day here in London. It's only going to get hotter this week. Records, as you say, are being broken across the continent. And, Stephen, this is the second major heat event in just 2 months. Take a look.
This morning, a dangerous heat wave gripping Europe. Sizzling from Spain to France to Italy and Germany, millions now under heat alerts. In France, the extreme heat turning deadly, costing at least 18 people their lives. Temperatures soaring over 107 degrees in Bordeaux, shattering previous records. In the French capital, some schools closing early this week, and the city's fountains and cooling stations packed as Paris nears its hottest June days ever recorded.
We're not jumping into our cars with AC. We're walking everywhere, mostly, or taking public transportation, which rarely has AC.
And others taking the plunge. Elsewhere, Spanish soccer fans got a refreshing dousing by civil protection services. And across Italy, multiple cities under red alerts.
We try to seek shelter when we can and go home and take a nap at the hottest times of the day.
Meteorologists blame a massive heat dome, a ridge of high pressure trapping hot air from North Africa, with scientists warning human-driven climate change is making extreme heat more frequent and more intense.
And it's very slow moving, and it means there's kind of no wind, no breeze for respite, and it just kind of sits there and produces heat underneath.
And what makes it even deadlier over here, air conditioning is just not that common. Across parts of Europe, only about 20% of households have AC. In the UK, it's about 14%. Health alerts now in effect across England, and forecasters warn the worst may still be ahead later this week.
Bracing ourselves for the worst. Tomorrow is expected to be the hottest day here in London, and I have my eye on that pool, Stephen. I can tell you what our crew is going to do after this live shot. But the other thing about Europe, we mentioned this in the piece, is that London, a lot of these big old capitals, these houses are not built for this temperature. So they are old, they're not energy efficient, they have no AC, so it is really, really hot. I will say, if you are lucky enough to be getting over to Europe on vacation this summer, head to the coast, find some water, and don't move. Stephen?
Some good advice. All right. Enjoy that pool, Molly. Thank you. All right. Now let's get to the big win at one of the most prestigious golf tournaments in the world. American Wyndham Clark winning the 126th U.S. Open Championship on Sunday. Clark battled through tough conditions, some hostile Long Island crowds throughout the tournament, and hung on to win after nearly losing a 6-stroke lead. The victory marks his second U.S. Open crown after he won the championship back in 2023 and adds another major title to his growing resume. And we are lucky enough to be joined here by the U.S. Open champion himself. And look at that trophy. Wyndham Clark, so great to have you with us today. An exciting day on Sunday. My father-in-law was actually watching this on TV in St. Louis. There was a tornado warning, so the meteorologist took over. He wanted to see you and your dad afterwards. I know your dad surprised you there. Take us back to that moment if you can. What was it like, your dad being there once you get this second huge win?
Yeah, it was amazing. My dad has never seen me win live, and I had no idea he was going to be there. Saw my girlfriend, my brother, some friends, and then I turned around and my dad was there, and we had a nice embrace, and definitely made it for a great Father's Day.
And talk about what actually happened there itself. I know it got very close there for a while. You actually pulled through that win. What was that moment like?
Well, it was definitely more stressful than I was hoping. I had a 6-shot lead. I was hoping it would be a little easier, but, no win's easy, especially a U.S. Open at Shinnecock. So, but yeah, just the fact that I overcame a bunch and to win, another U.S. Open is amazing. And yeah, I mean, it's just, it's something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
And you won your first, 3 years ago now. I know you also lost your mom when you were in college. I lost my mom in college, too. And I know that sort of changed the trajectory of my life. I think about her all the time. I'm sure she was on your mind. What do you think she would be telling you now that you've got your second here?
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I mean, I know she's smiling above, and, time heals wounds, but I never stopped thinking about her. And, I wish she was here to celebrate, because I never got to celebrate a PGA Tour win with her. But yeah, I love her so much, and, someday I'll see her again.
Yeah, I've heard you speak about her in the past, and I know it's important to keep their memory alive. So I love hearing that as well. We noted the hostile crowds. You faced a lot of hostile crowds. I think it's important to note that you apologized for what happened during last year's Open, when you damaged a couple of lockers at Oakmont Country Club there. But the crowd seemed really hard on you, really hostile. How did you fight through that and win when you're kind of facing something like that?
Yeah, I had to embrace it, to be honest. I made a little goal the night before and the day of that anytime I heard something negative about me or towards me, I would replace it with something positive, either about myself, my golf game, or I would just look and find someone and smile at them, And I thought if I could win them over with kindness and love, that it would be the best option rather than trying to fight back. And I think I did a good job with that.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. Look at that trophy. You clearly made it work. So lots of accomplishments already. What's next for you now?
Well, next tournament I'm playing next week, or this week actually, at the Travelers. But yeah, I mean, my sights are set on trying to make the President's Cup team. We got the Open Championship, which is the last major of the year, and then playoffs. And yeah, I mean, I'm just enjoying the moment right now.
It's been so public, the stuff that you've gone through. We mentioned last year, losing your mom. What have you learned about yourself going through all of this in such a sport that's got so much attention on it?
Yeah, I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life, and I've learned to handle adversity pretty well. Last year was really tough, but I like to think of kind of my trajectory and success in golf as climbing Everest, right? And there's some peaks, there's some valleys. And last year was definitely a valley, but this year I'm climbing back up, and it seems like a steep peak right now, so it's pretty good.
A great message for anyone experiencing a valley, that just keep on aiming for that peak. And those trophies, if you can get them. Wyndham Clark, thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, more great golf continues this weekend on NBC and Peacock at the Travelers Championship. Then make sure to catch the final major of the season in July as the Open heads to Royal Birkdale, also on NBC and Peacock. Well, coming up, voters in several states are heading to the polls today to cast their ballots on primary day. Up next, we'll tell you about some of the key races we're following and the top issues on voters' minds. You're watching Morning News Now. We're back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with a bipartisan win on housing in the Senate. NBC reporter Gary Grumbach is here with more on all of this. Gary, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Stephen. Here's what's happening in politics now. Your United States Congress is on the brink of doing something it doesn't do very often, passing bipartisan legislation. The Senate voted Monday to pass a bill that would make it easier for everyday Americans to buy homes, providing funding and grant programs for new home construction and preventing corporate investors from buying single-family homes. The bill now goes to the House, where it's expected to pass before heading over to the White House for the president's signature. Elsewhere in Washington, President Trump's new acting director of national intelligence is cleaning house. Bill Pulte began removing what is expected to be upwards of 400 employees of the National Counterterrorism Center on Monday. President Trump has blessed these firings and indicated that some of these employees would be sent back to one of the 18 agencies across the intelligence community. And finally this morning, the Republican Party has one less bold-faced name. Longtime conservative media host Tucker Carlson said he is no longer supporting the Republican Party, in part because of decisions that were made by President Trump related to the war with Iran. He was quick to add that he won't be supporting the Democratic Party either, leaving it unclear as to what kind of candidates he will be supportive of during November's midterm elections. That's what's happening in politics now. Back to you, Stephen.
All right, Gary Grumbach. Gary, thank you. Well, elections are already taking place across multiple states today. Voters in New York, Maryland, Utah, and South Carolina head to the polls to vote in today's primary elections, setting the stage in the battle for control of Congress coming this fall. Here in New York, several House primaries will test the influence of New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Over in Salt Lake City area, 4 Democrats are competing in Utah's newly redrawn 1st congressional district. And on the Republican side, two Trump-backed candidates face off against each other in South Carolina's runoff to succeed term-limited Governor Henry McMaster. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Surkin is in New York with us this morning to talk about this one. Julie, it's fascinating stuff. Love having you here in studio. So let's start with New York. Mayor Mamdani, he's not on the ballot, but it is a bit of a test for him and the progressive wing of the Democrats to see how they will fare coming up in these elections. How should we view this one?
Yeah, remember, Mamdani was really not viewed as somebody who could win the mayoral race last year. The fact that so many young voters showed up and really changed the tides and picked someone who was endorsed by the Democratic Socialist Party, just a totally different flavor of the Democratic Party, that's important. And I think that's why he feels so bolstered to throw his political capital and his weight behind three insurgent candidates in three different primaries in New York. For example, New York 7, he has Claire Valdez, who's facing off against Antonio Reynoso. He's somebody who's been known in New York. He worked in city government. They're really the same on paper in terms of their progressive backgrounds, but only one of them has the Mamdani endorsement. I spoke to one voter yesterday who told me that's what put him over the edge. New York 10, you have a similar story. Dan Goldman, the incumbent Democrat. He was seen somebody, a rising star in the Democratic Party. Now you have Brad Lander, who's the heavy favorite to win in the polls. He's somebody that Mamdani has backed. And a similar story around in New York 13. Mamdani backing an insurgent candidate there against Espaillat, who's the head of the Hispanic caucus in Congress. So this really is a story, Stephen, about the establishment of the Democratic Party and about this insurgent new rise of the Democratic Socialists. Turnout, though, for young voters, not as good as Mamdani would have hoped.
Oh, it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up. Also interesting in Utah, the state there hasn't elected a Democrat to represent them in the House since 2018. So why do Democrats think they have a shot in that new district?
Yeah, more than 5 years since there was a Democrat representing Utahns. I don't know how to say that. I'm a Jersey girl. Anyway, for the first time since 2021. And it's because of a years-long legal battle in the courts over gerrymandering in that state. So it has nothing to do with President Trump's effort to pursue mid-decade redistricting. It's a different kind of thing. And in this new congressional seat that was created, a lot of Democratic support. It's the Salt Lake City area, overwhelmingly elected Kamala Harris in 2024 over President Trump. This will be a really big one for Democrats. It's not really whether they will have a Democrat sent to that seat in November. It's who, what flavor of the Democratic Party, more progressive or more moderate?
I got to ask you about this one in South Carolina. President Trump has endorsed two candidates who are going against each other for the Republican nomination here. It is confusing to me and trying to understand how that actually works. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so just like people are vying for Mamdani's endorsement in New York, you have Republicans vying for President Trump's endorsement in a place like South Carolina. This is for governor. You'll remember a couple of weeks ago, we had the primary. It was a crowded field. Congresswoman Nancy Mace really thought she had it. And then the day before the election, a couple days before, President Trump endorsed Pam Yvette, who you see on your screen there. She's the lieutenant governor. But wait, this past Friday, President Trump said, you know what? Yvette didn't perform as well as I thought she would have. She didn't make it out of that runoff. She headed into the runoff today against Alan Wilson, who is the attorney general in that state. He's also the son of Joe Wilson, a longtime congressman. President Trump needs all the votes he can get. He doesn't want to alienate him either. So he said, I'll endorse both of you, leaving voters there to sort of pick who they should go for. And not great news for Pam Yvette, who thought she had this in the bag. So we'll see what happens tonight, but certainly interesting from President Trump there.
It's just interesting that he didn't take the endorsement away.
Yeah.
We'll see how it all plays out. Exciting stuff. The world of politics. Julie Surkin, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Well, coming up this morning, the box office is reaching heights not seen since before the pandemic. When we come back, we'll tell you what's leading people to return to the movie theaters and how much industry executives predict Hollywood will rake in by the end of the year. Stay with us. We're back now with some tips on how you could save a little bit of money on your prescription glasses. A growing number of online retailers are promising high-quality frames and lenses for a fraction of the price. But are the savings actually worth it? NBC News chief consumer investigative correspondent and News Now Daily anchor Vicki Nguyen joins us with those eye-opening details. Good morning, Vicki.
Hey, good morning, Stephen. Most consumers buy their glasses at a retail store, but it can be expensive, with a single pair costing several $100s. Well, now a new online retailer is offering high-end prescription glasses for the same price as a cup of coffee. So are those discounted glasses as good as the expensive retail brands? You have to see it to believe it.
Today, the price of prescription glasses can be eye-watering. On average, a new pair costs between $200 and $600.
Glasses are way too expensive. 30 grams of plastic,
sold for $500. Doesn't make sense.
Now, entrepreneur Pierre Wisman says he has the solution. His new online glasses company, Black Sheep. He says his frames and lenses are made with the same high-end materials as the luxury brands at the same factory and labs in China, but without the luxury markup in price.
On Black Sheep, you're paying the real cost.
The quality of the Black Sheep frames, is it going to hold up?
I can assure you that this quality is better than the luxury.
To take a closer look, I went glasses shopping. First, I had a licensed optometrist measure my vision to get the most up-to-date prescription. Next, at the retail store, the optician helped me buy 2 pairs of designer glasses. One single vision just for distance, and one with progressive lenses to help me see better up close. The cost without insurance? $350 for the single visions and $850 for the progressives. Then I logged on to Black Sheep to find comparable glasses, entering my prescription and choosing my frames, even trying them on virtually. I bought 2 pairs of single visions and 2 progressives at vastly lower prices, from $67 to just $9. With a promo code for being a new customer, I got another 10% off, so it's $129.20 for 4 pairs of glasses. A week later, my Black Sheep glasses arrived in the mail. So how would they compare to my pricey retail pairs? Over several days, I tried them all. With the progressives, these sit well on my face. Both the expensive store-bought glasses and the much cheaper discount pairs felt the same. Not a lot of distortion on the sides, but I'm told that's normal. These feel fine. As for the single vision glasses, surprisingly, my least favorite was the expensive retail pair. They just feel a little bit off. There's something about the way that the 2 lenses, it feels like one eye is seeing very clearly, one eye is a little bit blurry. The discount glasses seemed more comfortable at literally 1/10 of the price. They feel fine. I think they look good. And they were definitely a bargain. To check the quality, fit, and accuracy of my glasses, we took them to Dr. Marina Su, a professor of optometry at State University of New York. She reviewed them blindly, not knowing where each pair came from. In the end, the discount single visions passed her assessment and only cost us $35 for 2 pairs.
The glasses prescription was made accurately. When I put them on your face, they were fitting well behind your ears, and the optical center of the lenses matched your center of your eyes.
But the discount progressives failed her review. Though they felt okay in the short time I wore them, Dr. Su found the lenses weren't properly cut to fit my eyes.
After wearing them for a long time, you're going to feel a bit discomfort and strain because it's going to make your eyes cross a little bit uncomfortably.
Black Sheep CEO disputed our critical findings as biased and said they worked promptly to address any customer complaints. What happens if a user is unhappy with their lenses?
We have plenty of solutions. We refund, we launch a new pair if necessary. If there is a problem, we're going to fix it.
And that's the key, whether you buy online or in person, to make sure you know the customer service policy. And if your glasses feel off, that you're able to get them adjusted or replaced. Our expert said, trust your eyes. Don't be afraid to voice concerns. And that is exactly what we did for one of my expensive store-bought glasses. We brought them back. They adjusted the frames free of charge.
I'd love to hear that. I showed you my $20 glasses frames, but I have a pretty simple prescription. Right. If you have a more complicated prescription, a stronger prescription, is it riskier to get them through these services?
Yeah, so the experts say no matter where you buy your glasses, Stephen, those look good on you.
Thank you.
You do want to have a professional check them to make sure they're accurate, that they fit properly. And if you get an eye exam at your optometrist, many will check your glasses as well, even if you bought them somewhere else. So just bring your glasses in and ask your eye doctor to take a look at them. I think the process goes the best when you end with a human, you know what I mean? And just listen to yourself. If something isn't feeling right, ask questions. Don't just, wear them out.
Don't deal with them.
Yeah,
yep.
exactly.
Good advice, as always. Vicky, thank you so much.
Of course.
Well, Hollywood is having one of its best years at the box office since before the pandemic. According to Rentrack, the U.S. box office has topped nearly $4.5 billion so far this year. That's the highest revenue since 2019. While it's partially because of increased ticket prices, experts say there are other factors at play. Let's bring in Paul Dergarabedian. He is a senior media analyst for ComScore. Paul, good morning to you. Exciting stuff for the movie industry. Let's start with Toy Story 5. It really helped catapult the box office over the weekend. How important was that opening?
That was a huge deal, Stephen. I mean, for that movie to open to $160 million domestically, $312 million worldwide this weekend for Toy Story 5. This is just the cherry on top of what has been an incredible year to date at the box office for movie theaters, studios, and audiences alike. Pretty incredible. And I think if we look at some of the recent successes of films like Project Hail Mary, Michael, Devil Wears Prada 2, and let's not forget two little films called Backrooms and Obsession, coming from YouTube creators that have collectively earned over $600 million worldwide, and there's a lot more to come. So I say the movie theater, it's always been there, but it's really just astounding how in this era where you have so many options for entertainment, that going out to the movie theater is like the go-to experience. And Gen Z, as we've seen in our RentTrack data, is really responding strongly to the movie theater analog experience, if you will.
Yeah, Gen Z, I know, loved Backrooms and Obsession. I also wanted to ask you about this. We know that industry executives say the U.S. box office will top more than $10 billion by the end of the year. We mentioned the increased ticket prices already, but what else is helping the box office aside from that?
Yeah, I think it's a momentum thing in the movies that have done well, like a Project Hail Mary or Michael, Obsession. They're not just one weekend wonders. They're films that continue to build that FOMO factor, fear of missing out, the excitement surrounding that. There's just something about going out to the movie theater that's special. And in times where people are watching their pocketbook, it's a relative bargain compared to other outside of the home activities. So I say going out to the movies is like the new vacation, and you can escape for a couple hours, have fun with friends and family. Toy Story 5 did that very well. And there's some big movies on the way. Christopher Nolan right around the corner with The Odyssey. We have actually coming out this week, Supergirl and the last Jackass movie, I presume, and a lot more to come. Minions and Monsters, a new Spider-Man movie, and on it goes. I've been doing this 34 years now. Never quite seen a year like this where the movies are holding up week after week. Audiences are on their social media platforms talking about their movie theater experience, and creators on the small screen are shepherding audiences from those small screens to the big screen in the movie theater.
You mentioned some of those superhero movies, Supergirl, Spider-Man coming out. We've heard so much about superhero fatigue. Are you seeing signs of that, or are these openings expected to be pretty big?
They're expected to be, well, the Spider-Man movie could, I mean, I don't want to go out too much on a limb, but that could be the biggest opening weekend of the year. Wow. It's tracking huge. The cool thing about Spider-Man, it opens at the end of July, which means it's going to power really strong August, and that's the home stretch of the summer movie season. We could be looking at well over $4 billion for summer, and like you said, could $10 billion be in the cards for movie theaters this year at the domestic box office? I think so, for sure.
Wow, I would not have predicted it. Interesting stuff. Paul Garabedian, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Stephen.
Appreciate it, sir. Well, coming up, it was a record-setting day yesterday at the World Cup for one of the sport's biggest stars. Up next, we'll recap Lionel Messi's big day for Argentina and look ahead to another exciting day of matches ahead. We're back now with just the latest record shattered by one of the greatest athletes of all time. Lionel Messi made history yet again by becoming the World Cup's all-time leading goal scorer in Argentina's victory over Austria yesterday. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk joins us now with more on all of the latest World Cup highlights. Exciting stuff, Steph.
Yeah, it certainly is, Stephen. Good morning to you. For years, fans have argued Lionel Messi's place in the GOAT conversation. Well, after Monday's win over Austria, with Messi breaking the World Cup career scoring record, that argument just got a whole lot stronger.
This is the moment Lionel Messi made history. The Argentine soccer superstar getting a pass through the legs of a teammate and burying it against Austria. Messi scoring the record 17th World Cup goal of his incredible career, securing his place as the tournament's highest scoring player of all time. And then he did it again. Messi broke his own record with goal number 18 in the match's final minutes, clinching a 2-0 victory for Argentina. Fans once again sent into a frenzy. It comes less than a week after Messi scored a hat-trick in the team's opener against Algeria. From Texas to Buenos Aires. The Messi faithful saying he's cemented his status as the greatest of all time.
This guy, man, he's breaking every record. Messi's a beast.
Messi's record-breaking moment coming 20 years after his World Cup debut and 4 years after he led Argentina to the sport's biggest trophy. Since then, he's become an American favorite, joining MLS club Inter Miami in 2023, with his jersey ranking #1 in league sales 3 straight seasons. But after an unprecedented first 2 games, the famously soft-spoken superstar is staying humble. Thank God we've already been able to give them several moments, Messi told reporters. We'll try to keep going. And while fans are wondering how Messi can possibly top his own streak, they can't wait to see him try.
For those wanting to see more Messi magic, Argentina's next match is Saturday against Jordan. And it's important to point out, he has a little bit of competition in this World Cup, holding on to that record. France's Kylian Mbappe scored his 15th and 16th World Cup goals last night. He is playing equally as hot as Messi right now, and they have an intense rivalry one-on-one, but also Argentina and France were both favorites in this tournament. You know, the drama continues, Steve.
I've seen a lot of Messi and Mbappe jerseys wandering around New York City, so that tracks. All right, Stephanie Goss, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Well, as soccer fans from around the world discover U.S. culture, one menu staple is proving especially popular, and it's ranch dressing. I would not have guessed that. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson has the latest on how America's favorite dressing is winning new fans. Priscilla, good morning.
Yeah, move over ketchup. Ranch is having a major moment right now. And here at Willie's Grill and Ice House in Houston, they serve it in 6 different flavors. You can get it with your mozzarella sticks, your wings, your brisket balls. And now, as World Cup fans discover it too, brands are cashing in on the obsession.
I'm at Chili's and
it's on pizza and burgers.
The real hero of this World Cup is ranch dressing.
Served with wings and fries.
The ranch here is insane.
America's creamy creation, ranch. And it's scoring big with foreign World Cup fans.
Y'all, the Europeans are trying to smuggle out the ranch out of the country.
The TSA even urging fans to check their bottles instead of chugging them at the security checkpoint.
The world is finding out what it's like to have things dipped in ranch.
The love from visitors adding to a decades-long obsession among Americans.
The Hidden Valley Ranch party in my mouth.
75% of whom say they like it or love it.
I need a little ranch, step to the ranch.
And restaurants are finding new ways to serve it up.
If you're adding a new burger or a new chicken sandwich, you can add this layer of innovation to your menu at a relatively easy and low cost.
This year, Great Wolf Lodge debuted a ranch milkshake, vanilla ice cream blended with dressing, topped with crispy chicken.
I'm about to try the most American thing my little English eyes have ever seen.
The Habit Burger and Grill opened a pop-up saloon with the buttermilk bestseller on tap. And Sweet Green rolled out new wraps alongside a ranch dressing fountain.
Indescribably delicious Hidden Valley Ranch.
Hidden Valley even paying ranch ambassadors to spend the summer traveling across Europe, sharing their love of the dip.
I grew up putting ranch on quite literally everything.
But not everyone is Team Ranch.
As a ranch skeptic myself, do you think people really think ranch is that good, or is it just the social media hype?
Yes, I like it quite a bit. Do I dip everything in ranch? No. Social media tends to sort of fuel curiosity, and it can increase popularity.
People are losing their minds over ranch right now.
And as for world travelers, Kraft Sauces says that a TSA-friendly package of ranch is on the way. And Hidden Valley Ranch says that their ranch seasoning packets are always TSA-friendly. And of course, while I'm at Willie's, I had to get the It's All About the Ranch shirt because it is all about the ranch here. I think I'm going to try a new flavor. Got my brisket ball. I'm not really a ranch girly, but we're going to see how we like it with the classic ranch. Okay, that is good. I can get with it.
Okay, it's got Priscilla's stamp of approval. Experience every goal, every celebration, and every unforgettable moment of the FIFA World Cup 2026 exclusively in Spanish on Telemundo and Peacock. Next, we got to introduce them to hot sauce. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Your news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.